The government has set aside some $5 billion in the 2020 budget to start the reopening of 3 of 4 sugar estates closed by the previous administration. Closure of these sugar estates saw an increase in unemployment as they were the main source of income in the sugar-producing districts. The Enmore estate is one of the 3 mills identified to be reopened to recommence sugar production. Since its closure, squatters began occupying lands at Riselust, Success, and Chatamargo, East Coast, Demerara. Acting Chief Executive Officer of the Guyana Sugar Corporation, Mr. Sesnarayan Singh, said those lands are used to produce sugarcane to supply that estate. According to Mr. Singh, the sugar company has lost approximately $2 billion in future cash flow due to the destruction of sugar canes and lands by squatters.
The government of Guyana has issued the policy directive to the Guyana Sugar Corporation to reopen 3 sugar mills. In order for those sugar mills to function, you need sugar estates, cultivations. One of those identified was the Enmore factory, which relies on the lands on the east coast of Demerara mainly to provide the raw material for the sugar mill. But what is very special about this location, which was destroyed, as many varieties were destroyed, but our chief scientist will talk about that. What is very, very important about this is that it serves an international purpose, not just for GuySuco. The entire region depends on the literature, the discoveries, to serve the sugar fraternity of the Caribbean. So we've lost a lot. Based on what we've lost, GuySuco has seen a destruction of almost $2 billion in future cash flows because of the destruction of those varieties. So that is the challenge we're having. Plus, we're also having to re-establish the cultivation. And these lands were all in cane cultivation before the decision was made to close the Enmore sugar mill. So it's extremely important people understand you cannot grind wind, you got to grind cane.
He emphasized that squatting on these lands is hindering the reopening of the estates.
We need these lands to prepare so that we can plant sugar canes, so that these mills can start grinding, and so that we can create employment, a hive of employment along east coast of Demerara. Already we've established a register of over 600 persons from the east coast of Demerara who are keenly interested in helping this agenda by coming to work for GuySuco. Of course, we can't employ them all at one time, but it tells you the social need of this project. And because of the social and economic need of this project, we're asking all of Guyana to understand that we're really trying to move this economic model forward. That's all we're trying to do. It is a challenge because what we met on the estate, what we left on the estate, at least let me speak specifically with regards to the East Demerara estate and more, what we left were several functional pieces of equipment, including tractors, harrows, and plows, slashers, and so forth. We also left a functional factory, and we also left a functional cane cultivation with cane on it. What we've met when we returned a few weeks ago is 0 serviceable equipment on the Enmore estate. 0. I don't know, this feels like if somebody has eaten the iron out of this sugar estate. So we have to start from scratch. There's nothing there. And on top of that, it is extremely important that these new varieties that are in the nursery are protected and preserved for several reasons, because the future of cane is in new varieties, more productive varieties. Also, without new varieties, then GuySuco will not be able to improve its productivity. So this goes to the heart of the questions, the bottom line. And that's the profitability of the going concern of the Enmore Sugar Estate. So it is unfortunate that we are where we are, because people have to understand we have an agenda to create jobs. We have an agenda to reduce our cost of production. We have an agenda to increase our revenue. And if for us to do that successfully, to contribute to Guyana's human development and economic development, we need these nurseries and these areas to drive that agenda.
Meanwhile, head of GuySuco's Agricultural Department, Gavin Ramnarine, explained the impact of squatting on sugarcane production. He noted that it takes 14 to 17 years to create a single variety of cane. Squatting on the lands has led to the destruction of over 17,000 varieties.
What we have here is the research fields at Chateau Margaux. Now, one of the reasons I brought you here is the fields directly behind me. This is CM44. This is one of the first fields to be destroyed. Now, this field contained 490 varieties of cane. The subsequent fields further down, we've lost a lot of cane due to squatters burning the cane out. Now, in total, the CM area that we do the research on is around 71 hectares of land. Right now, about 31 hectares of land is occupied with cane. We are planning to move the cane from this location to LBI, right behind where the main offices are. This has historically been the area we do a lot of the research. Now, in that 71 hectares of land, we have 81,730 individual clones of canes. That's individual varieties of cane. The loss of these varieties, it was so upsetting to the staff that some of the staff members actually were weeping. Now, on average, it will take between 14 to 17 years to produce one single stalk of cane. And I'll just give you a brief outline how this thing happens. We cross the canes from the fuzz, those of you who are familiar with the cane flowers. So we plant each one of those, and let's say on year one, we will get about 100,000 of those individual cane plants. It looks like grass. Each one of those is a completely different clone. It's a variety as such. We haven't named it because there's 100,000. Then we plant those out, they grow up as individuals. Then we select the most vigorous one. When they grow up again, we get to year 2. We test them again, and we have to make smaller cuttings of those to try and propagate the successful ones. Then we have to test them for disease, pest resistance, different soil types. So what we end up having out of that 100,000, maybe if we're lucky, we get one single variety at the end of 14 to 17 years that's successful. I'll give you an example. The last variety we released last year, 9824, that's since 1998 that variety was named. So it was probably a seed, right, in 1995. That gives you an idea how long it takes to produce one variety of cane. It's not a simple process. This is the cane flower. So we cross these with very specific varieties for high sucrose. Each one of these tiny things is an individual like you or me. This is an individual cane plant that has never existed before. So we take this one little seed from these things and we plant them down. And it will take 14 to 17 years before this becomes a commercial variety. Now, when you lose this, right, just the potential. Now, I'll give you an example. One of these tiny seeds here could be a cane that produces 20% sugar and 20% fiber. Right? One of these varieties of cane could power Guyana. Now, we have 16 commercial varieties right now. A high-performing variety, like let's say one of the bad boys at a lot, right? He will do maybe 25 to 30%. Let's just say 25%, right? So GuySuco made $9 billion or so. Each one of those things, that variety, the high-performing variety, generates $2 billion a year of money for this company. Right? Now, it takes a long time, but you see the potential loss here. So within these 81,000 varieties that we have here, and the 17,000 that we've lost already, you could imagine how much we would have lost. Right? A potential variety that could outperform anything else in the world, that could bring the cane yields up, that GuySuco could produce more cane cheaper than anybody else, right? That would be able to stand up straight, disease resistance, right? Pest resistant. So that's what the tragedy is when somebody does something like this. We lose valuable material that you can never get this back again, by the way. How, if your mother and father have 100 kids, it'll never be you, right? It will never, ever be the same. What we lost here, gone forever. It will take a million years of constant cross. You'll never get it back again. That's how the genetics work. So once it's lost forever. And that's the tragedy that the staff feel here.
Ramnarine highlighted that the data lost is worth more than gold and sets the sugar company back by almost a decade.
The process that we take to produce a variety cane is the exact process the United States does, South Africa, Brazil, Australia, and India. Because we work very closely with international partners. We exchange genetic material very frequently. We have conferences that we all attend, and we all know each other very well. The sugar world is a very small world, and we all tend to know each other. They take the exact same amount of time as we take. Now, we sympathize with the people, the land, and central housing, etc. But what we want to emphasize is that the loss here is not just a set of cane. It's so much hard work to come out here and select this thing that the staff have become very demoralized at this stage. And a priority for Guyana, irrespective of what happens, we will still be growing cane in Guyana. You will still need to breed cane adapted to Guyana. We have been doing this job here since 1909. The Guyana breeding station is the second oldest breeding station in the world. Our reputation is second to none. Our canes are exported for breeding purposes all over the world. Our staff are among the most highly recognized cane breeders in the world. Some of the things that happen here, it literally breaks your heart, and on a personal level to see our staff put in so much work. Right? Now, these clones here, it's starting to grow back, and we might be able to salvage some data from it. But another field that you had 16,500 varieties of cane, when that's gone, it's very difficult to get back to some of those because these are very, very small plants. So cane is not just cane, right? This thing has to be constantly upgraded. And I just want the public to know that there is another side of the story, that we are affected. The loss, is loss of data. If you're a scientist, data is more important than anything else. It's worth gold dust. The data that we have lost here puts back our program. That's in some varieties, 10 years. And then we have to do a catch-up now to try and get that done. Now, we are trying to take steps, but we're just urging people to please respect the scientists, right? This is a priority for GuySuco. We will still need sugar if it's for bioenergy, if it's for sucrose, if you have a distillery. We still need these scientists to work to produce this cane, no matter what happens.
2022 is earmarked as the year of grinding for the sugar estates. However, a 12-month cycle of cane is required to get the factory up and running.
The definitely year of grinding will be 2022. We're working hard towards getting everything in place because you need a 12-month cycle of cane to actually start a factory. So, as I told you, when we opened the gates of Enmore, there was nothing there. No cane, total bushes, total destruction. So we are now trying to clear the land. The estate manager is clearing the land with regards to putting down planting material, and 12 months after, those material will become eligible for harvesting. So it is a big task. I mean, the nation is calling on GuySuco to do a big task, and we're up to the task. But we need the help of all Guyanese to save this part of Guyana. Let's save Guyana by helping to save sugar. And everybody knows that sugar is very, very intertwined to the economic welfare of rural Demerara and rural Berbice. It's not just sugar workers who benefit from GuySuco. There are all kinds of mechanics, all kinds of people who owns lorries, people who rent lorries, all sorts of people, the shop owners. Everybody benefit when GuySuco is working. And the bottom line is, this is the trust. So we're asking everyone to understand, please, we're not being aggressive to anyone. We're asking everyone to understand that we need to get back to work.